surname, goodness, Badana, who is actually from our community engagement team. So this is the person from whom I take a lot of guidance in terms of how to talk to the community, because as a very long-term public servant, it doesn't necessarily come easily. So I'm learning a lot this past year. We've also got Catherine and Di. So Di is from Transport Canberra and City Services, which we're used to know as being TAMS, and is basically going to be the person to whom we will happily hand over the end result of our consultation. So that directorate is actually really, really important in terms of making sure that whatever we get out of this consultation is realistic. Catherine is actually working for me at the moment, but as of Monday, next Monday, we'll actually be going back to working for Di, so we've got a fantastic linkage to show that we actually do all talk to each other. So anyway, some of you might be aware that in 2012 we did actually start the process of getting a master plan for Haig Park, and it was done through TAMS as it was then. And it came up with some really interesting, not interesting, but good recommendations that were the sorts of things that we expect to come out of a consultation on what do we do with this beautiful green space in the middle of the city. So what we discovered from that process was that people really liked the tree plantings and valued the heritage significance of the site. They also saw it as a place where the community should be able to congregate and spend time with each other, a place where you should be able to recreate. And it was also a place that needed some furniture. So you know, it's all good and well to have a space to say have a picnic, but if you don't have a table and chairs, then it's not always necessarily the most comfortable environment to be relaxing in. So there were some ideas about upgrading the furniture, upgrading the signage, including interpretive signage around, well, what is Haig Park, why does it exist, and why is it important, and looking in particular at improving the lighting and safety of the park, particularly through things like the management of the trees. So they're all things you would expect to get out of a master plan. Now the challenge for us is that in the 5 years since then, there's actually been a lot of things that have happened that means it would be inappropriate for us to just pick up the draft master plan from 5 years ago and say, stamp, now let's just go and do this. You've got the light rail that's happened along, and the government's commitment to increase residential living in the city. So you've actually then got a greater pressure on Haig Park in terms of what it needs to provide, or how many people in the community might be wanting to use that space. So they're actually really important things that have changed. And also, it's not just about densification in the city, it's actually about the whole of Northbourne Avenue. So all of a sudden we've got this space that used just to be for Turner and Braddon residents. There's a lot more Turner and Braddon residents now, and there's a lot of people, between Dixon and Haig Park. Oh, okay, you've got ghosts, awesome. Okay, unless you're on the waiting system. So there's more pressure on the park, and that means more money has to be found to look after it and to make sure it's a space that people can actually use. So the master plan is an opportunity to engage with the community on what they see as being the long-term vision for the park. And it doesn't just have to be people that live either side of it. It's people who might, think that would be a great place for me to do my family reunion barbecue or whatever it might be. So it's for all of Canberra. And given that it is heritage listed, it is about saying this is something significant about our past that we want to take through to the future. It can also involve a conversation about what the short-term improvements could be, because it may be that at the end of the day there's not a lot that people want to see change, but there are some really important things that you can do to make it a better space for people to use. And it's also recognising that in addition to the heritage values of the park, there might be other things that people value about the park that we need to find a way of preserving and enhancing. So everybody knows where Haig Park is, which is that little blue area, but there are two areas of influence we're actually on the Turner side. So the old Turner Bowling Club, which I think the rugby guys have got now, and then obviously there is that very large space through where in my old days people used to do hammer throw and discus, which may still be the case, but so because one's a formal recreation space and one's informal, because of the size, and we're calling them areas of influence. So while the Haig Park Master Plan will only deal with the area defined as Haig Park, we have to recognise there are other spaces that are coming out of this process. Maybe there's spaces where you need to put some money and improvements into. So certainly when people think about how all of that fits together. As I mentioned, there's a heritage listing for Haig Park, and those of you who are long-time Canberrans, and I know at least one person in the room who is, it used to be the windbreak for that side of Canberra. So while a lot of people go, well, why would you bother keeping that now? Because obviously all the buildings around it is the windbreak. There's still a significance in terms of how Canberra developed and what that space means to people, but also how you can enhance it going forward. So one of the really important things out of this process is that we're going to get a conservation management plan, which is under the heritage requirements. And this process is not about trying to remove the heritage significance, it's actually significance of the Haig Park. It's actually about what can we do to use the park whilst still respecting it, and whether or not there are opportunities to actually enhance its heritage value. So, no, we are not going through with 2 bulldozers and a big link chain. That is not what is happening. Every now and again, heritage may actually agree that we can cut a tree down because it's diseased, or, for example, there are some safety and lighting works going on the Braddon side, where to get the path through, which was shown, sort of guided by a desire line, heritage agreed, yes, there's a tree you can move here because then it's going to work in terms of safety and accessibility through the park. But certainly, absolutely no intention to try and rip down all the trees, even though, I will be honest with you, I do not like pine trees. So, sorry?
To do what? Feral winds?
Yes, so anyway, and this is what the interesting thing, so moving on to the community engagement. We started the conversation with the community on the 30th of January, and what we did was actually put up a sign on the Your Say website, and we also distributed about 6,000 flyers around the area to say, hey, this site's happening, but we're also going to be doing workshops. And we also distributed that to businesses in the area as well. Did some media, got onto 666, Riot Act, Canberra Times, Facebook posts, everywhere we could possibly think of to get attention, to say, hey, we actually want you to get involved in the conversation. Now, sometimes you can go through a 6-month consultation process and get 3 written submissions and 10 people at a community workshop. In the 3 weeks since this site has been up, we have had 400 comments. So that's already telling us something really important, which is that people value this space. And the really interesting thing about this website is that people are talking to each other, not to us. So what we've done is set on the Your Say website, you can actually put a little click on it and say, I've got an idea for this space, or I can tell you that there's a problem in this space. You can write a comment, and then we moderate the site, which is, so long as the comment's not rude, it will stay on. But we're looking at that to say, well, what's the general flavour? What are the conversations? But people are talking to each other saying, well, that's an interesting idea. So somebody says, I don't want to see anything happen, it's all fine how it is, leave it alone, don't do anything. And other people come back and say, but I'd really like to have a formal running track, because that's where I go running, or I don't want to roll my ankle. And then somebody else will come in and say, but I'd really like a cafe at the old depot site. So all of a sudden there are these threads of conversation running that are giving us a really good sense that it really is a diverse space. You can say, well, there are rows of trees and it goes for however many kilometres and it's all the same, but it is not. The way in which the space is used depends on almost like there's about 4 precepts in terms of where people see things and how they like to use that space. So this is the start of our process to get information from the community about what is important to them about the space, but also the things they don't like, but also the ideas. So we've had one thing that's been confirmed, which is consistent with the draft master plan from 2012, is that people love the trees, even though they're pine trees. People like the peace and quiet and the wildlife, and they like the fact that the green space is near the city. So that's a really strong theme that's coming through. Some of the ideas we've had, as I said, running tracks, an east-west bike path, play facilities for kids, like a nature park, so not necessarily really formally structured, but something a bit more organic. Artwork. We've also had an idea for a big splash theme park, which, just think we could have an issue there. People wanting dog parks, either off or on lead. So we're getting a really good range of information there on how people would like to see the space used. So as you can see, you are on the list for whom we've started a conversation with. So the large type on the left is people we've already talked to. Sorry.
Can you put O'Connor Community Inc down there as well?
Yep.
Sure, absolutely. So they were the interest groups we were aware of that we wanted to talk to, and the other ones we've tried to contact, other one little dot points on the also contacted.
Could I add Ainsley Primary School?
Yes, you can do that.
Maybe if you have other ideas on who else we should speak to, chat to me afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'll grab all of you. And if you've got contact details too, it'd be great to get them.
Yeah. So we are trying to spread the net as widely as we can to get as diverse a range of views. Now, one of the other reasons behind that is that the government has committed to engaging with the ASTEC community in a different way. So they're basically saying we need to take more time to think about what the conversation is, to be really upfront about what the boundaries for what we can and can't achieve, but also to make sure that we are accessing a broad demographic, so that it's not just kids that we're going to talk to, it's not just retired people we're going to talk to, it's not just the people in the middle. We actually want to understand across that all demographics what the range of ideas and possibilities are and the things that matter to people and things that they'd like to see. I'll be honest with you, we are not going to be coming up with a gold-plated master plan because we have to build something that Di can actually maintain. So there are also standards in terms of, if we say let's put a play park in, there are certain standards that we actually have to comply with. So, you know, as we go through the conversation and start to refine the ideas and look at the things that we think are possible, we'll be really upfront with people about what we think we'd be able to fight for and hopefully get money for, what things we might be able to do because they're very simple and don't involve a lot of money. Because that's the interesting thing you find out of these consultations. Sometimes it's the really simple ideas that are easily achievable that actually have the greatest impact in terms of people's enjoyment or enhancement of using the area we're talking about. So in terms of the consultation, we are obviously at the February part where we're starting to have these conversations with particular interest groups to see if there are any particular things we need to know or other people, thank you, that we need to talk to. Then we're going to be going, the next big one is actually the public workshop on the 15th of March. Now what's going to happen is next week on our website we're actually going to put up a registration system. The workshop we're thinking at the moment is probably the maximum we can have for that workshop is 100 people, which is actually more than you would normally get for consultation, so we think that should be pretty good. So what we're going to ask people to do is register for it, so if we only get 80 people you can all come. But if we get 500 people, then we'll be looking at how do we make sure that there's a really good spread. No, but I do remember when we did the neighbourhood plan down in Turn, we did end up with about 120. That's ancient history now, and we just don't want to go there, but it was a scarring experience. Yes.
5 years ago, we were getting, for the same consultation for the master plan, we were getting 30 or 40.
Yeah. So we think that, but I think the thing we're recognising is that we've had a lot of people moving into this area. So if we get 30 or 40 people, we'll be really happy. If we get more than that, we'll also be happy. But what we want to do is provide the greatest opportunity for to have a really good spread of interest groups and ideas to feed into the process. So
Is it going to be at night or during the day?
We'll be in the evening, so
Okay.
it'll be about 6:30 till 9.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Are
And
you going to just have the one, or are you going to try and have a couple for folks who can't make that particular day due to business or other
Yeah.
commitments?
so we're going to have one of that first one, but we'll have online as well at the same time. So I'm looking at options to similar to what you guys do here with your streaming and some online tools. We will also have, after that workshop, similar opportunities for you online, if that makes sense. So what's done in that workshop, we'll be looking at we'll kind of be collecting the feedback that's been online, and part of the workshop will be looking at that feedback and kind of narrowing it down, if that makes sense. Having then a similar process available online. So if you can't attend face to face, there's also a bit of time frame there if you do that online.
so once we go through that process of collecting information, we'd be looking at moving into the design stage, and again late April we'll be holding another workshop. We then go off with that information and try and come up with a draft master plan, which we would then put out for another round of public comment, and following that do any refinements that we think will work. we could fight for, and then look at having the plan finalised in early 2018. So it's a reasonably long process, but between the face-to-face meetings, the individual meetings with interest groups and the opportunities for online, and we're always happy to receive emails, we're always happy to take phone calls. We're trying to provide as many media as possible for people to be able to participate, because we recognise that, the night we have the workshop on may not be the night everybody can come, but we also can't put on 10 workshops. So we're trying to be realistic about what we can do, but create as many different opportunities for you to contribute as possible. So,
Can you give us an idea of what your indicative budget is for the spending on? I mean, that's going to make a huge difference to what you can do.
Spending on actual park, not spending on consultants,
Yeah.
paintings,
Yes.
coffees, teas, travel.
Yeah,
well, you want to spend coffee and teas, so I'd be in trouble if I didn't buy it.
Is it $1 million? Is it $10 million?
No, so
Whatever it takes.
what happens with these processes is that we'll kind of be doing rough costings as we go along to work out what are things that we could easily do, and what are things that we might go back as part of the workshops and say, this is a great idea, but it would involve infrastructure to a cost that we just know.
But what is that cost?
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
So I'm not the person who makes the decision on what will be spent. What we have to do every year, there's a budget cycle every year. So what we would have to do is, once we put it to the government and say, well, this is what we think the master plan should include, so it would have a range of works, and we would identify those works.
So just on that, this is what you think the master plan should have to do what? To just the basic one?
Well, it depends what comes out of the community consultation. Because you could get a community consultation where people really want to have major changes, so like they want a formed bike path, a formed running track, as opposed to a more natural organic running track. They might want spanking new play facilities like you see in just a
I'm sure
native
we
park.
all want that, but many people would want that, but it's just not going to be possible.
Well, that
Or is
depends.
it?
Well, that depends on the combination of how much people want. And that's what I was saying, that in some areas of the park it may well be that the master plan says we're actually not going to do anything because this is the quiet space. It could be you say, we'll put facilities in this section because that's where people are telling us what we most want. We then have to go through a process after the master plan is approved of actually having probably a 4 to 8 year program of budget bids to implement it. It won't all happen at once. Not for a park of this size, you could not possibly get everything done in 1 year. So it would have to be a staged implementation of the plan.
What is a 40-year? What's an average bid in 1 year?
Again, I'm not trying to avoid answering the question. The issue is it depends. At the moment,
Could we instead see how much?
well, let me just let's
Let's
just finish. I want to try and finish the answer the best I can without misleading anyone. At the end of the day, what you cost is what goes into the master plan, and what we're saying to you is there is nothing in the master plan. We can look at the 2012 master plan as a guide for the types of things that we might be looking to put up, but we're actually consulting with the community.
Was the 2012 master plan too expensive?
No, it just never got to the...
Why it's been abandoned?
It's not being abandoned, it actually just never got to the end of the process. I'm going to be absolutely upfront with
It
you.
was very close.
It's close.
It didn't get to the end of the process.
It got to the point where it was going to be put to us. We were given a date to turn up for the launch.
Yep.
So it was that close. So.
Yeah, and I can't answer the question as to why it didn't end up getting approved. All I can say to you is it wasn't approved, but we know how much work went into it. No. We know how much work went into it, so we're not going to ignore what was in it, but we also have to acknowledge that with the change of that space and the increase in densities, that we have to recognise there might be other things. It might be that your 2012 plan is exactly what we go back with because everybody says that's all we still want. But it would be wrong of us to make that assumption when you've got a whole new community that's starting to live in the area.
But doesn't that defeat the purpose of a plan? I mean, the idea is that you have something that you look for in the future.
Yep.
And I suppose following on from what Neil was saying, I was wondering how iterative this is, because you can kind of see, I was just joking about, it's like someone goes to a bar, what do you got, what do you have, how much you got, and you can just see that it just goes back and forth forever until...
You only have to look at the website tonight, it's going back and forth, because a lot of people have really different views about how they like to see the park used. And let's be honest, we're not going to come up with a master plan that will please everyone.
Well, I guess I'm not talking about so much about what we would like to, I think I'm
Yep.
going into the budget thing, because the budget is extremely important in determining what you might...
And we will basically, the plan is to have a plan that's approved by government, so that then we can go to them and say, you approved this plan, which means you know what's in it, and this is our budget bid over the next coming years for how we would implement it and the order in which we would do it. It's really hard to go into the budget washing machine and get in the queue if you don't have a really clear plan that underpins what you're bidding for. And that's the purpose of the plan, is to say, this will now underpin all future bids that TCCS will make for the improvement of the park. So that's basically the process we have to work with. And yeah, you would normally do 4-year plan budget funding. So you say we're trying to get money over the next 4 years to
Yeah,
other things.
the other thing, Karen, is that it might be gifted asset type inputs as well. So if the plan is there saying the community have decided there's some priorities here, facilities, we want to put a playground, a picnic area, if gifted assets from developments nearby are actually saying, well, how can we actually improve that park to service the new residents in this area, that's another opportunity for funding to come in and actually do this.
Which brings an important point.
So just so you know, to clear, we can't build flats in Haig Park. So just to be really clear, that's not, there's no, other than, notwithstanding what's been said on the website, there is no ulterior motive for this master planning process.
I'm almost shocked.
Sorry?
I'm almost shocked.
Okay, if we could just have a little bit of order, I'll start with you, Chris, you've got a question.
Yeah, one of the things that doesn't cost any money but can make or break, and almost always breaks, these sorts of projects is coordination.
Yep.
Always, some bugger comes in and does a really nice job of the lighting. That's fine, it works, it's terrific. Someone else comes in and they do the landscaping, and they take not a blind bloody bit of notice of where the trees are, and the next thing, the lighting doesn't work. I get called in as a lighting expert because someone's been injured because the planting was in the wrong place, not pruned, blah blah. Now, it doesn't cost anything to properly coordinate all these things in one go, and if they're not done properly, you're wasting everybody's money like mine.
So you'll be pleased to know that TCCS is actually on the steering committee, and that's why Di's here tonight, because we are actually coordinating between agencies so that we all understand that what's in the master plan is what we all agree to. And that includes...
I'm talking detail.
Yeah. So, once we all know that that's what's agreed to, basically the people who end up putting in the budget bids and then managing the projects through are TCCS. So there's only one group that will actually do that, and they'll go, and when we look at it all, what's the order in which you do it, and where do we do it, and when do we do it? So there is, I know it comes as a shock, but there are some areas of the AST Public Service who do coordinate the work they do.
Rob?
Yeah.
I know you have every reason to be sceptical, and I hope I'm not proved wrong.
And look, I might add that the consultation, the coordination and the consultation, if it's any guide, we are on a winner. So,
you mentioned before about people moving into the area. What weighting do you give? I mean, doing a public consultation is, I think, really important, long overdue, if it's done right. But there's going to be a lot of people moving into the area with the tram, with the increased urban density, if we have access and North 141, whatever it is, Northport Avenue type buildings, we're looking at 10 stories plus. That's going to increase the population. I did an estimate in Lyme alone by 20-fold in that area. So,
Another 45,000.
public consultation on the one hand, looking after the people with no voice at the moment because they're not living there, On the other hand, what weighting are you giving that? Because surely that should drive the direction of the master plan profoundly.
It is a complicated process when you're wanting to talk to the people who are already there, but you're also recognising that you know people are going to be moving in. So that's where you actually get, so as I said, TCCS is on our steering committee, but we've also got people from strategic planning, because they do a lot of work around public realm and how it needs to work depending on what is developed around it. So there's a lot of theory information already out there that can guide us in terms of how you anticipate the needs for the future densification, but also being able to talk to people who are there now, who need it now, who want it now. So there is a little bit of visioning that has to be done, and it has to be weighed against what you're hearing on the ground now about the needs. And balancing those is always going to be a challenge.
So that will be in the brief to take Wellington?
Yep.
Okay. My goodness, they've popped up everywhere. I'll start with Mary Ann.
I think other people were before me. Dennis,
Were
you
they?
were-
Okay, well, all right, John, you've earned a Guernsey. Be nice.
I can't put a bulldozer through the pine trees. I just can't. Sorry.
You may not be able to, but the political masters are another thing.
No, actually, I can tell you right now that there's just no way you can do it. Just,
I reckon you could run a drag down the middle.
anyway, what's your question?
Just to help you out with some concrete answers following on from Neil's question. How much was spent on the consultative process of the 2012 plan that went nowhere? And how much is the contract to take Wellington forward?
Okay, I can't speak for the 2012 process, so I can't tell you that. I can tell you that the majority of our consultancy is actually going to be spent on the conservation management plan for the heritage aspects, because that is the most difficult thing to do, and we are in the realm of about 200,000.
That 200,000 is to go to
The consultants, but that also covers all of our consulting, it covers all the workshops, it also covers it's not going all to take Waddington, if that's the question you're asking me, because it covers our consultation workshops, it covers the facilitators, it covers the preparation of the report, obviously, which is the consultation, all of the flyers, all of the costs of actually putting the website up.
probably not your overtime.
It don't, no, I don't get paid overtime. And I haven't even had it yet, so there you go.
Oh, and who's
Mike was before you, was he? Thank you for your politeness.
Yeah?
Sorry, yeah, a quick comment and then my question. Just on the thing about densification, we did ask the planning department about the basis for their population projections and the zoning, and we actually haven't got anything back. So the comment there is I think you really need to coordinate with them, make sure they have their numbers, because we haven't got any numbers back from them.
Yep.
Okay. One thing I was wondering as far as like possible suggestions, for example, on the budget, if something, for example, reduces the maintenance costs, okay, is that something that would then be put in, for example, let's say grass that doesn't need to be mowed, for example? Is that the kind of thing you'd be interested in looking at?
Yeah, because the thing is, if we can balance it out and show that by spending money you save money on the maintenance in the long term, that's all the sort of information that you put into budget bids. You go, the benefits of doing this is if we spend this money here, this is what it will reduce in terms of maintenance or whatever other costs over the following years. So that sort of stuff actually is really important, particularly if you're doing it, you say you're actually getting a better overall outcome and a more usable space. Yeah, absolutely.
Jeff?
I go through the Braddon side of Haig Park every day,
Yes?
and I saw the recent tender you put out to have the footpaths upgraded, the lights upgraded, etc. I thought it was fairly good actually, so I was quite happy in the footpath raised, so you don't have to wear gumboots when you're going through up to the road.
That work's hopefully starting next month.
Yeah.
So,
I think the densification, so where the old NRMA building used to be on Northbourne Avenue, there's over 200 one-bedroom units and a mixture of 2 and 3 bedroom units, and that's just in that, and from ABC flats all the way to Dixon, there's currently there's 500 one-bedroom units up. Well, my issue actually is just there's going to be so many more people on the Braddon side and the Turner side. It's absolutely, that'll be the remnants of a park we have to keep. I know the Braddon I think there was a commercial group or whatever wanted to put a car park in there at one stage.
Yeah, that's...
Absolutely no, no, help.
No, if they want to try and cut into the park and put more parking than what's there, that's kind of not... I'm just not certain they'd win the argument on that one, because it's called heritage.
And the other
The thing is that heritage actually really is a very strong overlay to this, and people shouldn't see it as a barrier to improvement, but it's something that we have to have regard to in what we're doing, because we can't compromise the heritage values in the heritage listing.
And the NCA actually has oversight over
That's
this
right.
park as well, so you
Well, it has, yes,
My
and
question,
actually...
they do they?
Yes,
Yeah,
they
well,
I thought they were trying to get rid of it.
what you've got is a little S over all of the park, which means it has special requirements. The interesting thing is the NCA has not actually written a development control plan for the park. So part of what we'll be doing is actually
right.
involving the National Capital Authority to understand what their desires are for the park. So that work that you were talking about in Braddon, we had to get endorsement, because even though it was a DA, an approval
Yes.
by the ACT government, the National Capital Authority actually got to say what the finishes and of the footpaths and the look of the lights were. So they will actually have a potentially significant overlay into what ends up being in the master plan and the conservation management plan.
Because we're
Sorry to
not
finish
allowed
it.
to look after it.
I think to finish off what you say, no matter putting in the big new paths where cyclists and pedestrians can go, there'll still be a crossways all the way up the park for people wanting to go from one side of the block to the other. And I don't know that you can avoid that.
Look, that's all part of the mix, because the constant tension between the needs of pedestrians and the needs of cyclists is a fascinating topic. I can't think of another more polite word to use, but it will be a challenge, yes.
Marianne?
Karen, thank you. You're covering a lot of ground here. I have a couple of comments. The sequence of the Conservation Management Plan, it seems to me that it should be up fairly soon so people can see it. Especially
Chicken and egg.
Yeah, it is a bit chicken and egg, but a Conservation Management Plan for a heritage site would seem to me to be a foundation document.
We have, so the Heritage Unit, the manager is on our steering committee, and we're having this conversation about how you progress it, because we're sort of saying, well, it is chicken and egg, because how can you write the Conservation Management Plan when you don't know what it is that people are envisaging for the park?
Conservation.
I'd
I'd have a very interesting conversation with you about that.
I have interesting conversations about heritage all the time.
Yes, well.
But we are having an ongoing conversation about that, and it may well be that the Conservation Management Plan kind of goes a little bit further ahead, but we actually think you have to understand what the community is thinking about the space before you try and put out a management plan. And that's that at this point in time. The heritage people on our committee agree that you've got to have some sense of the scope before you start writing that plan. Because if we come out and say, well, there's the Conservation Management Plan, there you go. That's it. You may end up saying there's no point doing a master plan, and because you haven't taken into account what it is that people want. And we need to know what's in and out, and then we're going to have that constant tension the whole way along. But the Conservation Management Plan will definitely be out at the very least at the same time as the master plan, because it will also tell you why there are potentially some limits to what we can do in the master plan. So they have to sit side by side at the end of the day.
A succession plan for the trees, because those trees will come to their end of their lifespan. I'd be concerned. I mean, yes, I'm a bit funny about feral pine trees too, but just the same. And I'd also make sure that people in information sessions understand that it's a green space. It's not like buildings. Green space actually mitigate climate. Buildings don't. They enhance climate. I would like to know if you're going to track the demographics. I think that would be very interesting. I think you're doing a bit like Bang the Table does things, and City of Melbourne, which is very interesting. I like the sort of methodology you're using in your engagement.
And I'll just add to that too with the workshop registration as well. I'm also looking to track
Great.
that, and that whether we're saying if we have lots of people register as well, we'll look to balance those demographics.
Good.
That's
Be interesting to
my
see that, and I'd like a report on that. One more thing: format of workshops. The format of workshops. Is this going to be an information session, or is this consultation and engagement?
It's engagement.
It's
This is not, we're starting, for us it's about starting early in this process, so we don't have a draft that we're coming to you with. We need to get the information from you first, The workshop, I have a meeting with the facilitator, I'm not getting on the phone because I'm always really busy, hopefully later this week to discuss that format. What I'm looking to do is, we've got these 400 comments online, I don't think we need a workshop to come up with another 400 comments. I think we need to now start to narrow those down and look at, this is what people are saying, now let's start to finesse some of that detail.
Thank you. That sounds
So
good.
that's what we're looking at.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
Sorry, I
engagement.
don't know your name, but
My name's Sue and
hi Sue.
I live in Braddon on Girraween Street, and there are quite a few from Girraween Street here tonight, and I feel we're a group who, we only found out about this meeting by a total accident, and we feel that we've not really been, we're not a cohesive group like a residents association, but we are all
We can
very
help with that.
interested in, and you know, we are keen to be involved in the process, so we'll.
So did you get the flyers?
No, we didn't get anything about Yours Say.
We didn't get the flyer?
I didn't get a flyer about Yours Say.
I've got some spare in my bag, so I'll grab them and show them to you, see if they...
Well, I've now got Yours Say and I can look it up, but
Yeah.
I didn't know about it before.
But if not, I'll come chat to you afterwards while I can grab your
So,
info.
yeah, well, we can, you know, coordinate between ourselves, and we do want to be part of the group, but my comment, I think, was the same as the gentleman's over there about, you know, we're very relieved to hear that you can't put a building up, but also very concerned because appreciate the pressure that's on Lonsdale Street, and the need for, you know, people parking. We have people parking outside us, you know, day and night, basically, because there's not enough parking. But it's you know, not the
It's
answer.
a constant tension.
The answer is not to put a car
No,
park in.
no, and it's a constant tension that we have because there's a government policies that are all designed more towards active travel and towards use of public transport, but the reality is you will always have cars. But the more car parking spaces you provide and the easier you make it for people to park, the more likely is that more people do it and you're still going to end up with parking shortage. So it is a real challenge that I think probably over, you know, it's been the last 10 years and it's going to be at least another 10 years on, where you're trying to talk about that transformation, that modal shift. Now, do you, on the Braddon side, do you know that little depot, the old depot site? Where people currently put so I'm going to be up front with you. There's a building there. There probably will be a building there in the future, but it's not going to be 4, 5, 6 or 7 stories. You know,
That's what
There'll
we're
be
agreed to in the draft plan.
yeah, yes, that's right. And basically that's what I'm saying is
is
that's a really obvious space for us to, if you potentially want to provide a lot of infrastructure and leave some other spaces that are more for sort of that natural enjoyment, that's just a really obvious place to start. In terms of your point around the developers going up, the people who sit next to me in my building actually do all the statistics on land supply, and they do all the statistics and collect all the information on how many units are being built, how many houses are being built, how many bedrooms are in it, so we can actually do our numbers and extrapolation out from there. Just in terms of if you're wondering how we take account of things going into the future, we actually know what potential development numbers are on a lot of the blocks, and we can actually feed that into the work that we do.
That'd be good to tell the people who didn't tell us, because
Sorry?
it was the Northbourne Corridor people, when we asked them, they didn't know. It'd be good to
Well, that's
share
right.
that
They're on our
information.
working group, and we can tell them everything. How's that?
Miles?
Karen, is
Yes.
the open space zoning potentially going to...
No intention to change the zoning.
Right.
It will stay as an open space, and that's the thing, is what we're talking about is wanting to have a conversation about it. This is, some people call it an urban forest. You can call it whatever you want. It is a space that is going to remain as an open recreation space that will be managed as part of the open space network, which TCCS is responsible for.
Well, when you solve it, we've got open space pine trees that are 1930s plantings. In Downer, the government's trying to flog them off so you can come to Downer and solve our pine trees.
I thought you guys all sorted Downer out. I thought that was all done.
No, the pine trees are still, the government's trying to sell them off and we're trying to make them open space.
Okay, well, I can only work one miracle at a time. I'll get back to you.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, just a comment on the spaces. I'm less worried about Haig Park getting built on than Turner Parklands and and the other side. They're going to be, they're the ones the actual
Yes, when you
concentrating on.
Yeah,
But
like battleground needs to be fought.
I have got some answers. You asked me a question about that the other day, and I have got some answers for you.
Oh, thank you. But I'm with the Turner Residents Association.
Right, okay, yes.
And we're very pleased that you're doing all this work on the Braddon side, but we're keen to have some stuff done on the other side as well. We feel a bit neglected. And we're
No, we're not.
and
We
we
take
particularly
charge
feel
rates like you can't believe.
and we feel particularly neglected right on the far end, on the western end, where there's an open drain that is full of trees and growth and stuff like that, where there's a footbridge with no footpath on either end, a single light in the entire section of that park, no curbing or guttering around that entire section. We would like that. You know, it's nice to have playgrounds and water and spray parks and running tracks, but we would like general maintenance.
So I'm going to tell you something really interesting, is that there was someone who purported to represent the Turner side of Haig Park. And their position was, do not touch a single tree, do not do a single thing, because everybody likes the serenity of the Turner side, and you don't need to do anything. So that's why we want people like you involved.
I'm not advocating anything different.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is
just
that people are saying, we really like that natural runoff. You know, we really like it the way it is, and that's what I'm saying. That's why we want lots of people to come and have this conversation. So you can say to some of your Turner colleagues, residents, well, that might be how you feel, but I have a different view.
No, but I'm sure they don't want all that stuff growing in the drain. And do they?
It's weedy.
Yeah, so maintenance is kind of a separate issue that we can talk about, because that's about ongoing, regardless of what you do with the master plan.
Well,
You're talking about the...
No, it is to do with the master plan, because you'd have to change the drain to be able to get to it.
And they're the kind of things that start to be really interesting in terms of how the Sullivan's Creek whole floodway runs. So that's a
But
that's a really big...
This is the runoff from the Barry Drive. It's the stormwater drain that eventually gets into.
Yeah, and that's all part of the Sullivan's Creek network. I'm just letting you know, that's part of the Sullivan's Creek network, and so that starts talking about stuff that happens all the way down in Lyman. So yeah, absolutely, that is another thing where we've got people from strategic planning and also the water people in EPSDD, because we recognise that that's a particular issue that is not necessarily a simple fix, because it's actually about it's about the floodways, and it's about the infrastructure and the different ways in which you can upgrade it. Because you could naturalise it, or you could put more concrete there. And there are different views about how you do that. But they're the sorts of things that we need to
do. One of those
do. But we can certainly wrap that in. Yep.
Well, they'll have very different outcomes.
Another.
They will. Yes.
I'm assuming you've got a tension between trying to actually improve the safety and the encouragement to use Haig Park as a throughport, i.e. get rid of the Mandalay bus area. Because I see that's the most unsafe space when I run through it. So I think that's got quite a different needs to where we are up in Girraween Street, where I'm assuming you're trying to actually encourage the neighbourhood to actually come within the park and actually use it more, rather than just have it as a throughway. Yeah, look,
it is that thing about I mentioned before about it almost breaks itself into precincts quite naturally, because you've got that Braddon end where the end of Braddon where you actually are meeting that commercial and mixed use part, and then you've got the more residential down at your end. It's a constant tension, because then you have things like, well, let's do the rain track, or let's do an east-west bike cycleway. They all have to come into the mix as well, and I think it's a really good point between the throughput versus the input, and they're the things that we want to try and sort of get a really good understanding of, to say, well, where are the areas where your focus is more on the input as opposed to the throughput. And the one thing we have done is we've actually worked with ACT Policing to do a SEPTED report, so it's crime prevention through environmental design, and I have identified issues in terms of safety in the park, so it was good to find out that the work we are about starting in Braddon actually will resolve a number of the problems they've identified, but we are actually consulting with them throughout this process, so that if we have good ideas, we want to make sure that we're not that we're improving the park, not actually adding to potential problems. So, yeah.
When it comes to the heritage side of things and the conservation side of things,
Yes.
which is obviously rearing its head as a major impediment to bringing that park up to the standard.
It's a major opportunity to work with.
Have they taken much account, given that there has already been significant senescence on the trees there, and in some 15, 20, I think, maybe 25 years ago, a heap of them were replaced because they were dead.
No, I'd have to defer to Di on the question of the tree management replacement.
Yeah, there is a tree management plan for the park, and that, as you're right, it started some time ago in terms of the work. It was done back in the late 90s, I think.
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
But so there is a program to look at where trees are getting old, let's grow some on so we're ready to put them in and take those ones out. So it will be a cyclical process. The other thing I do know is that the species is actually quite specific and it needs to be propagated from that plant stock. So there's that added complication that we have to actually have some stock thrown ahead so that they're big enough to be putting in when we take the other ones out. So,
but my question emphasis is that there is senescence there, it must be coming, the rounds must be coming again. And how much does the Conservation and Heritage Group pay to simply replacing what's there that was useful 50, 80 years ago, that is going to be a completely different requirement for today's much higher urban density transport corridor needs? To me, the conservation side seems absurd.
So you're talking about are you suggesting that the species that are there are not appropriate for future
The density, one of the species, but mainly the density and the lack of opportunity, you can't touch them, to actually bring the park up to meet the needs of a much higher density population.
Well, that's what the Conservation Management Plan will look at, and I understand from my experience talking to Heritage about that site in the past, is that there is, as long as there is a key section of the park retained with that original planting pattern, that's the main objective. I'm not sure how much we can actually, through this process, actually identify areas where we might be able to remove some trees. I think
if we remove trees, there won't be a large number removed. So the tension between valuing and protecting the heritage of what's been registered as the heritage value, it is a constant tension. And I'm not going to lie to you, it can be a very difficult one. We could end up getting some fantastic ideas from the community, but unless you come up with a really saleable way of saying you can do this without compromising the heritage value and that's in the registration, heritage will have the last say on what can and can't be done. It is what it is.
My
That's what we
concern
have to
there
work
is if you look at studies like the Sturt study on open space and its relationship to population density, and the Hart Foundation studies on these issues for health of people living in suburbs, which is my particular interest, what you find is that conservation of an area that's green is not quite enough. It actually needs to be, yes, a certain number of hectares, a ratio of built environment to green, but it also needs to be facilitated in such a way to meet the needs of those future populations, not just today's residents. And that's something that I would like to see the ACT government get more involved in.
So, it's a really interesting point because there's been a debate going on for some years at Dynamite Smile Riley, is that the question is, so we call ourselves the bush capital, but it's not, the conversation should not be about the quantity of the space, the open space, it should be about the quality of it. And the more open space you have, the harder it is to maintain all of it to a really high quality. And that's something that the community, this could well be part of that conversation.
Okay, two quick last questions. John, then Marianne.
I might be able to summarise a little bit that debate. Do you want Haig Park to be a museum, or do you want it to evolve?
It's not really about...
It's not about what I want. It's not about what I want. I'm here to facilitate a process to find out what the community wants.
Does it be a museum, or does it evolve?
Well, do you have it as both?
My other point is, Haig, wasn't he a British general? Was it named after that British general?
So let's be really clear before we go any further. The name of the park is not what we are consulting on, and that is not up for discussion. Some people are passionate about it, some people don't care about it, but this is actually about how you use the space, not what you've called it. And if you want to have that conversation, I'll respectfully ask you to have it for another, because I don't want that to be something that removes the focus on what do you want this space to be and how can we get closer to achieving it.
No, Aboriginal people, have you consulted?
They will be part of the consultation. Yeah.
Didn't say what it is.
Well, it's part of the baseline work that we do.
Go through the registered.
Yeah, there is a particular process that we have to go through in consulting with the Aboriginal community, and they're registered organisations, so that's actually part of it, but not this part of the engagement.
Lucky last, Marianne.
Just take care, young man. I'm rapidly becoming a museum piece. That was not my point. I've actually worked in museums, so I actually sort of am coming from a various place. My concern, I hear what you're saying and I hear what you're saying, but in terms of our best practice, in terms of managing parks like this, yes, the heritage values can be maintained, but there's another elephant in the room, and that is climate change. And Melbourne is actually doing some really interesting stuff in terms of heritage parks and looking at if that the look and feel and the value that the community respects and wants to be maintained, they will put the effort in. But we are going to get hotter and drier and windier. And I would tend to think that one of the things that should come out of this consultation is the look at that park, because you can actually keep a few trees, like the ones you're saying that have to be specially propagated, but you can get the same look and feel with more appropriate species. What you're really after is a green space. And if you don't take climate change into consideration for the next 100 years, then really you're all whistling in the wind. Possibly not the wind that's going to be protected by using...
So if we could just bring you along to our conversations with the Heritage Council, I'm really happy to facilitate.
I'm happy to come. Being a heritage piece, as I just referred to, I speak with some degree of experience.
I'm going to be upfront with you, it's going to be probably one of the biggest points of tension throughout this conversation. So how do you maintain it as a quality green space while respecting the heritage values, but making it a usable music?
It's a balancing act.
It is.
So Karen, would it be
And I
useful
don't
to
have
have
very
those
good
sort of
balance,
comments
so...
on the your say?
Yes, I think
have
yes,
those
that
sort of
could
comments actually put on there, because they're really good points. A strategic plan like this should be thinking ahead.
Absolutely.
Can I just add to that, there was a tree audit done in 2011 and they do look at the quality of the current trees, the end of useful life, canopy cover, all that sort of things taken into account as well, so they know when certain trees are going to possibly
Reach
reach
their
the end of life
useful
and they can get ready to replace those. They do an audit basically the condition of the tree, the height, all those sort of things, they've got that data. So that informs then future planting programs and obviously replacement programs.
But I think the species conversation is a
That's
big
just-
But that
issue.
is, yeah, because the canopy covers get from pine, it's not as great as the positive.
So,
Another question, is Urban Renewal, are you part of EDD or
Yeah.
the old
so
ACLA?
the Office of the Coordinator General for Urban Renewal currently sits in the Economic Development Directorate, but a lot of the work that we do in there involves ACLA, as you know, and TCCS. So basically what we try and do is make sure that we get all the right directorates around the table at the start of processes. Whether or not my office exists on the 1st of July is, I don't know. I don't know, I might be back in ACLA by then, so you never know.
I hope so. By the sounds of it, you're doing a reasonably good job
Oh, we try.
pulling people together and
Yeah,
getting...
look, and I think that's the thing is that we know that there are a lot of different views, and our point is let's put it on the table and be honest about once we've got that range of views, then we can start being honest about what we think we can and can't achieve, and that's when you start refining it down to, all right, what are the compromises we're all going to make, put something forward that everybody wants to own and be part of, but we also think that we can put up a really good budget bid for it. So that's the reality of this process, but I would really encourage you to either, if you can't come to the workshops, certainly go onto the website or send us an email if you want to have a direct conversation about it. because the more that people give us their ideas and their thoughts and concerns as well, it may well be the things, some of the stuff that you've mentioned, that we say, well, that's outside of the master plan, but we know who we can talk to say you need to be looking at prioritising this. So there may be things that you put up that don't end up in the master plan, but actually provide really useful information for other people that we can actually pass on and work with them on. So thank you for all the questions. That was fun.
And if I might,
It wasn't as bad as the Renewal residents, don't you worry.
We'll get lessons from them.
Yeah, no, look, they like me now, so, you know, it works after a couple of sessions. But, yeah, look, really seriously, I would encourage you to get involved and really glad you've already got these really good questions to make us think about what we need to be thinking about to make this a successful process. So I don't want to see a master plan that sits on the shelf and then gets finalised. I want one that we can say, and here's what we're doing first. So that's what our aim is, to be honest with you.
I'd like you all to say thank you. If I may tie a couple of things together, Francis Rose said something about working with government and I suspect we need to be working with government on this as well to make it happen, how we want it to happen.
And ultimately, the power is in your hands. How much you want, how much you get of what you want, sometimes depends on whether or not you actually want to participate. And I appreciate that some people get consultation burnout, but what we're trying to do now is actually, but what we're looking now is saying, if we're going to consult on one thing, what are all the things that we need to understand, instead of saying, well, we're just going to consult about this little bit and we're not going to bother talking to people in health to do the active, lifestyle work, whatever. We're actually trying to do something so that if we consult once and consult well, I guess is what we're trying to do. So
sounds good to me.
Give me marks out of 10 at the end of it. Yeah.
We will.
Okay, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Or you'll be sorry.
I'm probably sorry I said that.